Hi everybody, my name is Barry Schwartz and this is the Search Buzz video recap. Today is Friday, July 18th, and this is the search news we covered over at the Search Engine Roundtable at seroundtable.com. First up, I questioned John Mueller, Google's John Mueller, about the Google Sandbox. As you know, in 2004 there was rumors about the Google Sandbox where news sites would just simply not rank well for a while until they got out of this sandbox. It seems now that there's a lot more discussion about this because it seems like in the black hat communities a lot of people are saying they're launching these websites the churn and burn style, where they actually launch things, Google nails it, they launch again, new sites constantly, where these new sites aren't ranking well when they're launching them, and then for some reason. And a lot of discussion in the Black Hat forums around it. I asked John about that in a video, and you should really watch it. It's not that long of a question. I actually have it linked to exactly where he starts talking about it, or where I asked the question, then he follows up with that. So definitely take a look at that to see his expressions while he's actually talking about it. eBay was penalized back a month or so ago by Google. We don't know if it was a manual penalty or if it was Panda or something else, but they saw a huge drop, a 50% drop in their search traffic according to search metrics. Yesterday, eBay announced their earnings report, and then the eBay's chief financial officer, Bob Swain, went ahead and admitted that they had SEO problems with Google and it had a major impact on their business. Danny Sullivan reported last night that it probably cost them about $200 million in terms of revenue based off of their Google SEO problems. And the CFO of eBay said the combination of cyber attacks and the Google SEO had an immediate and dramatic impact on GMV growth. If you look at the search metrics data, it keeps getting worse. If you look over here, so they were doing okay, great. Something happened here. This is what we reported about back in May, and then you keep seeing their traffic keeps declining and declining and declining over there. It's very interesting to see that. Even week to week, last week they had another 5% drop, so it's not getting any better. So we'll see what happens with that. So it just shows like even big companies could actually get slapped pretty hard by Google. But then you have people saying it has to do with eBay's stance on AdWords. This is a new tidbit. So Google's manual actions are updated twice daily within Google Webmaster Tools, but only emailed out once a day. So it's very rare, but basically John Mueller said that it's possible that you'll get an email and then it's updated after the email because Google Webmaster Tools is updated twice a day, whereas the email is sent out once a day. That's good to know. So just as a little tidbit in terms of manual actions. Google revamped their Google Webmaster Tools robots.txt text tester tool. Try to say that fast. Robots.txt tester tool. And specifically added 3 new features to it. They highlight which line in the robots.txt file actually is blocking a specific page. They also show you you can actually make changes, and it'll actually show you what the changes are live before you actually make it live. And also they'll show you older versions of it. So here's a screenshot where I actually did a search for a specific URL and it showed me it's blocked because of this in my file. And here's a thing on the version of, last seen, versions last seen, and stuff like that. So it shows you version history of the robot.txt file that Google had on file. Google launched their international targeting. We talked about this twice before when it was a beta and that they didn't disclose anything about it. Then we saw them talk about it in a video hangout, and now they actually finally launched it to everybody. Again, it asks 2 features. It basically gives you debugging information about your international targeting with hreflang, and it shows you missing return links, and it also shows you incorrect href values. It actually helps you debug that type of stuff, which is pretty common these days. Google actually has a new notice. Remember back a few months ago or a couple months ago, Google issued a warning about faulty redirects. So if you have a mobile site and it's not redirecting to the proper site, it will say this URL gives you a warning in the mobile results. Now Google's giving you another warning in the mobile results if a site uses Flash or something that's not supported. So here is an example of the warning, what it looks like. Uses Flash, may not work on your device. Try anyway and learn more. So that's something that's coming down the pipeline and actually should be live by now. Google launched zip code features in the search results. So now if you search for Manhattan, New York zip codes or Orlando, Florida zip codes, it'll give you a grid of all these zip codes. If you click on one, it would actually break down, and they've done this before, but it actually break down the area in which that zip code, the outline on the map, the zip code actually relates to. So that's a pretty neat feature. This is an interesting discussion. NetMeg basically said that responding to somebody in a webmaster world thread, basically saying, somebody complaining that it's getting harder and harder and harder, and Netmeg said, that's our reality. SEO is getting harder and harder, especially in Google, and if you're not up for it, you should go ahead and do something else. And she went through this in detail. Basically, my favorite lines from it is, you're probably in the wrong career because it's only going to get worse, not going to get better. Most of us are too busy trying to exist, to talk about existing. And finally, it's never going back to 1999 or even 2004 or even 2012. It's just going to get worse and worse and worse. So either you're in the game or you're out of the game. Or is it a game, really? Google reported their earnings last night. And in those earnings report, there was a lot of good details, and they actually did very well, but people are worried about the mobile stuff. Outside of all that, on the ad side, Google's released their new ad format earlier this year, and because of that, it seems like it increased a lot of click-through rates, because those ads are more blended in. So this is the old format, whereas the new format just has like an ad symbol, but it's white background, so people are clicking on it more, specifically. And also, Google broke down the paid clicks in more detail for the first time. They never gave this much detail in terms of where the paid clicks are coming from. So obviously, it gave you aggregate paid clicks. It also showed you site paid clicks, specifically around YouTube engagement ads, maps, finance, as well as other things. And they also broke down network paid links, specifically around AdSense for search, AdSense for content, AdMob, which is their mobile ad system, and so forth. So actually, Google broke it down for the first time in pretty detail, and obviously their cost per click has decreased, but their click-through rate has increased, so they're actually making a lot more money. Google Plus finally dropped their restrictions on having nicknames. Back in the day when I started in the forums, and a lot of used guys started in the forums, you use nicknames. I use Rusty Brick, which is my company, but a lot of people use like these things like Netmeg and stuff like that. People use nicknames. Some popular ones, Oil Man, even Google Guy. Matt Cutts was, I believe, Google Guy, and he used Google Guy as a nickname. Now everybody uses their real name, but Google Plus said, you know what, we're going to lay it off. You can use a nickname if you want in the future. It's not a problem. And finally, Bing released their right to be forgotten request form. You can actually go there. It's at bing.com/webmaster/tools/EU-privacy-request, and you can actually go ahead and submit your request for your stuff to be removed from the EU Bing results. That's somebody hiding under a rock, trying not to be found with the Bing logo on top of it. Anyway, that pretty much recaps the Search Buzz Video Recap. My name again is Barry Schwartz. That's the search news we covered over at the Search Roundtable at seroundtable.com. Everyone have a great week. And again, today is July 18th, Friday. I'll see you guys next. Bye.